in from India, if you could just give me a wave, please. 1, 2. Oh, hi, Palos. Hi, Dismingwala. Tishtele. Great. And I can see somebody also from Nepal, but he doesn't have a screen on. And how many are coming in from Europe? Hi, Yishla. And in the UK? Majority of my family, I guess. Lasso, thank you. And Apla's just joined. Great. I'm going to start sharing my screen in a second. Great. Thank you so much for everyone for joining me for this 1-hour webinar on living, working, and being in the pandemic and post-pandemic world. Appreciate an hour of your time. So I will try to make this insightful, snappy, and have a chance for questions at the end. I'll spend about 30 to 40 minutes talking about my background and advice given to me. I'll touch upon some really interesting current pandemic trends, and also a chance to share some of the feedback you've given about changes you've made to your life and future pandemic trends. And the focus will be on Medicine Buddha as per popular request. 94% of you said actually you wanted to hear more about Medicine Buddha, and I'm happy to oblige. And then I will stop sharing the screen and go back to the Google Meet so I can see you face to face with a Q&A. I'll put a 30-second advert at the end of my Medicine Buddha section so that you have a few seconds to just think of any questions and raise your hand if you want the mic passed to you. Great. Shall we dive in? Great. A little bit about me. I was born in Kollegal Tibetan settlement, raised in Kodaikanal, and went to international universities in Germany, the UK, and US. So interestingly, I've spent exactly half my life in the East and half my life in the West. So I like to say Tibetan heart, global smarts. I like to say my full-time job is being a mother of 3. These are my 3 little munchkins, aged 1, 3, and 6. And my background is that I trained in law, and I've been working the last 11 years in banking regulation. Firstly started on the graduate scheme of the banking regulator, which is now called the PRA Bank of England. Then at an international city law firm called Linklaters, where I advise clients on banking regulation. And finally, the last 5 years at an international bank, HSBC, which is the largest in Europe, managing their banking license for Europe, for the UK, the headquarters in the UK, plus 200 entities. And I also specialize on our regulatory relationship and getting regulatory approval for those senior managers in the top senior positions at the bank. So 15 years ago, when I started in law and trained, I had I was very, very lucky, I was going to say the honor, to be paired up with the Black lawyer who very kindly gave me some advice. And I really wanted to use this presentation to share that, because that was very inspirational. And I'm very lucky to have that sort of advice so early on my career. And it has helped me throughout my career and in shaping what I'm doing today. And I only feel that it's right for me to share her good advice because it's part of the good karma. So Sandy said to me, she said, yeah. Is the car loaded now? Is somebody able to mute their section, please? Thank you. So Sandy said to me, don't just sit there, young lawyers. She said, you're always sitting down, working away. She said, once in a while, put your head up. She said, look around you, look at your colleagues, look at what your colleagues are doing, look at what the partners of the law firm are doing, what your clients are doing. And she said, move towards those trends. And I never forgot that advice. Even used that when I was at the bank, the Financial Services Authority, my first job, I saw that one of the best divisions to work with was the authorizations division, where they brought big bankers and they brought them during the interviews, and I saw that, you know, that's of value. That's why I specialize in that. I asked for my last seat in that section, went to a law firm that advises those bankers, got into Linklater, saw a newspaper article about these are the trends, saw that female lawyers are doing really well in that part of regulation. So I emailed that lawyer that was featured in the newspaper and got that job, and then moved to HSBC because I saw that is what I wanted to do. Started the regulator, go into industry, go have some private practice, and then go into industry. So I want to just hold that thought, and I want to come back to this advice that the lawyer gave, because it's a very beautiful full circle. It's actually very karmic. So diving straight into what's happened since the pandemic, we know as of today, 9.268 million people infected, 489K deaths. I don't think there's a single country in the world which has not been affected by the coronavirus. Here in the UK, we are slowly lifting out of lockdown. It's very chaotic. It's very haphazard. I know in India, the lockdown is still in place. We have somebody else from Europe, Ireland here too. So I think every country is going through different phases of this pandemic and different peaks. I sent, whilst registering, I asked everyone, what changes have you made since the pandemic? It's actually very heartwarming to see that actually the most responses, and I know the statisticians in you will notice that these don't add up to 100, because I allowed everyone to tick more than one response, because we are human beings, not human doings, and we do tick off more than one box. So it's very heartwarming to see empathy and collective responsibility had the biggest response. It's very beautiful how actually this pandemic has made us close to one another, really empathize working parents, empathize people with gig economies, people with zero contract hours. But at the same time, it's made us also distant from each other. When we go to supermarkets, I see everyone moving further apart, people looking at others who cough without the mask. So it's interesting paradox, the effect of this pandemic on a micro and macro level. We see most people, I actually expected this healthy lifestyle would be one of the top trends. I see focus on learning, fewer outgoing and financial demands. Is so interesting when you notice, do you really need to go out? Do you really need to buy these new clothes? Better work-life balance, notice that a lot, not just among working parents. And finally, a business idea. This I just noticed the spelling error now. But hope you will, excuse that. So I just thought I'd just pick a few things which I thought might be of interest to those who are tuned in. Empowering the Vision is a career service in India, mainly aimed at Tibetan professionals and Tibetan young learners. So I thought 900 million learners have been affected, including my children. The older two go to school. We've seen 20% drop in commodity prices just because there's lower demand from those people who usually would go to entertainment. Bank of England, all the governments have tried to stimulate fiscal markets, but it's very interesting that the effect of the pandemic has depended on so many different factors. Number one, your age. So just in terms of death rate, it's a very low percentage for those under the age of 44, those who are economically active. So I think that's where there's been quite a lot of resistance, where people said we want to go back to work, we don't want to be in lockdown, but they've been to protect the vulnerable in society, those over the age of 65, and with other factors like pre-existing medical conditions, they feel that they have to act with that collective responsibility. Very interesting, gender. We already know that women take on more of the responsibility for child rearing. So notice where I have friends who are working parents, the mother, myself included actually, I've taken care of the children more whilst trying to juggle being a mother. Very sad statistic about the increase in domestic violence hotline. If you're in a confined space, you don't have that opportunity to ask for help, go out, etc. Race is very interesting because we've seen statistics about Blacks and ethnic minorities disproportionately affected. There's also obviously the urban-rural divide where it's harder to maintain social distancing in a crowded city or space. Pre-existing health conditions, quite a lot of statistics coming out from the UK have shown actually it's people who are already quite sick, already vulnerable. And finally, medical care, depending on the country's response. Some of the countries in the East have shown amazing response, Taiwan, New Zealand in particular, and Korea even. So this has been really amazing that each country's response has shown it has lessened some of the countries' infrastructure and project management has really lessened the negative effects of the pandemic. So looking at all this, I actually saw a big picture. I saw that actually social distancing is a privilege, that the pandemic affects people differently depending on your socioeconomic status. So if you think of those in privileged position, even if you're a woman, you can get a nanny in. Even if you're elderly, you can, or live in a country with poor health infrastructure, you can go privately. So this is an opportunity for us to really think about the pandemic and the effects on us and acknowledge and realize that we live in a privileged society. It means we live there's a beautiful quote on Facebook, which I've reproduced by an Indian doctor. It says, social distancing is a privilege. It means you live in a house large enough to practice it. Hand washing is a privilege. It means you have access to running water. Hand sanitizers are a privilege. It means you have money to buy them. Lockdowns are a privilege. It means you can afford to be at home. The disease spread by the rich as they flew around the globe will now kill millions of poor. So the fact that all of us are here today, we have internet access, we are able to stay at home, we're able to log on, take an hour of our time to log on. I think we should recognize and appreciate the position of privilege that we come from, and use that, leverage that privilege to do good, to use what we have and to do good in the world. His Holiness said, has this beautiful prayer every day, make yourself a useful human being, see what we can do and be of benefit to other beings. Future trends. I'm only going to touch on them very lightly because the popular demand said they wanted to see more about telemedicine, but it fits so well in because of the last topic, telemedicine. We know robotics and automation is so big. In the 2002 SARS epidemic, that's when actually online marketing platforms in China really started to take off. Now we know online shopping, you've seen Amazon being so essential and the shares skyrocketing. That's only going to increase. All these trends were happening anyway. We were moving towards them, but they've clearly been accelerated by the pandemic. Robotics and automation really helps in delivering some of the robotics services. Digital payments, it's already been quoted so often that Sweden is almost a cashless society. They only have 1% of their GDPR in cash. Vis-a-vis compared to the Eurozone, which is 11%. And I'm also very surprised in the UK, it's 4%, but then the UK also is really like the hub of the most online shopping in the world. They did this survey, I think a few years ago, which was really, really interesting. So this is where everything is going towards. What I hear from my family in India, lots of online shopping in India is being really accepted. Just a few days ago, my parents were saying that their phone was delivered all the way to Shija in a very, very remote part of a Tibetan settlement. So this is amazing that this is what the future is going towards, more efficiency. remote working and distance learning. I'm sure all of you have been exposed to this and are doing this right now actually via this webinar. That is here to stay. People, bosses, teachers, professors are realizing actually you don't have to be there in person. You can still learn from home, work from home. You know, the technology allows the virtual meetings, the cloud technology, the VPNs allow that sort of flexibility. Another plus is you don't have to commute to meet. But then there's so many negatives of these this sort of new technology. You've got privacy concern, you've got the security of information, work-life balance, and the biggie, loneliness. You know, we're human beings, we're social beings. We still want to connect to our colleagues. We still want a break sometimes from work. Sometimes, you know, when you're in your office, especially me, I think as an entrepreneur, I can, you know, sometimes work till 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning because I'm so passionate about something, and then I forget I have to wake up tomorrow morning at 7:30 to get my kids in bed, kids to school at 8. So, you know, when you're in an office environment, that sort of structure and those distractions help break up the day. So that's harder to have that work-life balance. Digital learning, you know, it really depends also on digital readiness based on your education, but also on the income divide. The fact that, you know, all of you are logging into this webinar, we have phones, we have laptops, we have internet. We really are in a very, very privileged position to gain this sort of distance learning and, you know, connect with another human across just using the internet alone. And finally, telemedicine. So the world was going towards telemedicine. It's an established field, but since the pandemic, there are so many of these telemedicine apps, Doctor Care Anywhere, Babylon Health. These are reported actually 3,000% growth, which is huge. I saw this growth way before I started my app called Medicine Buddha. You know, going back to the advice given to me by my mentor, Sandy, I saw that, you know, these are the 3 trends. I saw firstly, a trend towards wellness. That is the trend towards a healthier body, mind, spirit, people being disillusioned by conventional medicine. I have experience of that myself. My son, well, at 5 months old, had terrible eczema, a very skin condition, which, you know, is very patchy, blotchy. He was even taken to the hospital for infected eczema, and they said it was life-threatening. And I remember all the doctors, all the pediatric dermatologists that I went to see, all they did was prescribe increasing dosages of hydrocortisone just to sort of attack the symptom, but never the root cause. I tried almost every form of alternative and natural medicine because of his young age, and I was worried about the effects of putting even more chemicals. And I realized that his eczema was correlated with allergies. It's not caused, but correlated. And when I looked at allergies and did a lot of research on allergies, I realized that allergies are related to the gut health, and how when he was born, he was given so many antibiotics that it must have cleansed all the gut bacteria. And so I tried to rebuild that up with probiotics. You know, when he was born, he had tons of allergies like peas, tomatoes, eggs, milk, and the biggie, peanut. But at 2 years old, because of all the probiotics and all the natural remedies I tried, he actually went into the hospital for a peanut challenge and was completely cured of his peanut allergies. And they were so surprised. They tested him twice. They said there's only about a 20% chance that children with peanut allergies, which is very severe, really outgrow them by the age of 10. So I'm very proud that, you know, he's able to, he found a remedy, a natural remedy. And that's my story, why I came towards wellness. I think, you know, we should be looking for holistic alternatives, especially for vulnerable people, older people, young children, or, you know, for example, when I was pregnant, I only tried natural wellness, such as acupuncture and reflexology. And I think more and more people are open to it. We already know 60% of the world population practices at least one one type of traditional medicine. And I think we're seeing that trend more and more, and even more with the pandemic, where people are more aware of what they're putting into their bodies, what they're eating, which ties really nicely to this huge rise of plant-based veganism. Here in London, every restaurant I go to, I don't know a single one that doesn't offer a vegan menu. That's because veganism has a 500% increase in the last 5 years in the US and the UK. We know 39% of people want to actually eat a plant-based diet. My brother Jimmy himself was boasting about how he lost 3 kilos on just a plant-based diet in the last few weeks. So, people are trying it, seeing that it's really tasty and that it's actually doing good for them, and seeing the effect themselves. Thirdly, the rise in telemedicine. I spoke about that a little bit earlier already, but people are realizing that telemedicine is the safest way to get a diagnosis. It's safe for the doctors and it's safe for the patient. And 90% of quite a lot of our illnesses can be diagnosed with telemedicine. You can show the doctor, where it's hurting, where you have a bruise, where your conditions are. And a lot of these chronic conditions like insomnia, eczema, allergies, you can get the patient history from just chatting to the doctor one-to-one using the phone or laptop. So the medium of telemedicine, which is video conferencing your doctor or health practitioner. And I wanted to say that, in a pandemic, actually 100% of the initial call has to actually be done through telemedicine, because it is the safest way. Here in the UK, the first thing they do is give you a telephone line to ring 111. And that's when they try to decide how severe it is and what type of care you need. So with those 3 trends in mind, I wanted to show this lovely picture of my mother-in-law, and that's actually my 3rd baby, Mila. And who was born on January 17, 2019, the same day as Michelle Obama. So shortly after she was born, this is taken at the hospital, I think the day of her birth or the day after, my mother-in-law offered to look after my baby girl during the night shift. And for all the parents who are on this call, you'll appreciate that the night shift is probably the most brutal. The baby needs to eat every 2 to 3 hours. They poop, they pee, they just really uncomfortable, they wiggle. And so I said to my mother-in-law, no, I'll look after the baby, I'm the mom, mommy, you sleep. And she said, Metok, I suffer from insomnia anyway. So she said, I'll look after the baby. And so I really probed her about where her insomnia came from, how long she's suffering, and what she had tried. So she said that, she'd already tried conventional medicine, which is generally just pop a sleeping pill, and that's all they prescribed. She'd already tried Chinese medicine and it hadn't helped, and she tried some sleeping supplements, and none of them really helped, and she's still suffering from insomnia. So I asked her if she would be open to trying Tibetan medicine, just coming from the Tibetan tradition that we have. And I spoke about how it's holistic and that it avoids all chemicals, and she was really open to it. So this is when the first light bulb moment came, that actually there are people outside the Himalayan region area who are really open to Tibetan medicine and just don't even know about it. The second gap I personally discovered is when I had the trouble of finding a actual Tibetan medicine doctor who could diagnose her over the phone. So this involved finding somebody licensed, somebody who had a good reputation, found somebody in India, had a lot of difficulty connecting over the phone, being the timeline, sitting next to her, making sure that the phone conversation was translated correctly. So too, I saw that, the need for to connect people to vetted and licensed practitioner. And finally, getting the medicine. Once the doctor was able to diagnose my mother-in-law, she recommended this medication called Agar 8. It's also called Lung 8 in Tibetan medicine. And we had real difficulty getting it. The Tibetan Medical Institute, Mensikang, they have an email address that you can email. And, it comes back 3 days later saying, no, you need a one-to-one consultation. So back to square one. Asking my parents to go to the Mensikang, they would not give you the medication unless, it is actually related to your condition. So finally, also realized that, getting a medicine from India to the West is so difficult because of postage, because of customs, etc. Finally tried a Tibetan medicine doctor here in the West in Belgium, which took ages to receive here. When I received the medicine, I saw the third gap, which is the need to really upgrade the whole supply chain, because I found it very inefficient to receive this. Plus, I saw the packaging was so poor. There was no prescription in terms of when to take the medicine, how to take it. And I just thought this alone could be upgraded. So with that in mind, these three gaps, I thought that a medium such as actually a phone app is a way that, combines the three. It's a way to advertise Tibetan medicine, way to connect people to Tibetan medicine doctors, and then thirdly, dispatch these supplements efficiently. I pitched this idea to an entrepreneur competition in Dharamsala last year called the Tibet Innovation Prize. They were seeking to disburse 1 crore rupees to a Tibetan entrepreneur who helps avoid brain drain in India, because it was His Holiness's wish that an entrepreneur creates more jobs for Tibetans in India. That's the picture. At the end of the week, I had an opportunity to meet His Holiness. The entrepreneur competition was fantastic. I didn't win, but I got such great external validation from the judges, and they never questioned whether this app will work or not, but actually how I would scale and meet the demand, and how I would operate this efficiently and with excellence. So that gave me such huge confidence. And then obviously at the end of the week, had a chance to meet His Holiness. I'm crying my eyes out. That's a terrible photo of me, but I hope that, you can really see what it meant to me meeting His Holiness. It was a very moving experience, first of all, meeting His Holiness, but also was quite jarring in that as soon as I took this picture, and some of you will relate, having met His Holiness, that usually you have a private audience, it's very gentle and peaceful, and then the photographer says, group photo, and everybody rushes, pushes each other, and shockingly, what I saw His Holiness hand just for the group photo. And, that experience really shocked me. Later on that day, my husband said, oh my God, His Holiness is 84 years old, and we're all bothering His Holiness instead of letting His Holiness have a peaceful life. And I realized I'm one of them. I also bothered His Holiness that morning. And I think, as Tibetans, we all do that. We're all trying to take away from His Holiness. We always use His picture. We always use His quote. I think Tibetans and non-Tibetans, just because His Holiness is such a amazing leader, not just for the Tibetans, but for Tibetan Buddhists and as a thought leader. And I really felt that it's time as Tibetans that we should be role models in our own industry. We should be contributing to this to our culture, in our own way, in any job that we do, any task that we do, that we represent excellence, so that the next time somebody meets a Tibetan, they think of, oh, that Tibetan produced an excellent quality work. That Tibetan provided value. That Tibetan really upheld excellence, so that, they're open to more Tibetans working for them, working with them. I think His Holiness has opened loads of doors for us. And it's only right that, we leverage that. We realize the privilege of being born Tibetan, the privilege of having such an amazing leader like His Holiness, who really represents the best of human beings, and really take that on as like a blessing and something to build on and to be proud of. So with that in mind, I came back to London, came back to my banking job, and something didn't feel right, going back to work in the corporate world. I just felt, as a Tibetan who had a very privileged education and had the privilege of working in the corporate world, that, I really should combine all of these three to do something of value, to really launch my app, take it from just the idea stage to actually just doing it. I've never done an app before, but I just feel confident that I can do it authentically. I can, I've got all that background and the foundation, ways of working smart and strategic, and I'm surrounded by great people as advisors, as mentors, that I can actually produce something of really high quality and go there with the growth mindset. And with that, in December, I quit my job, and I've been working on building an app with an extremely talented Tibetan developer in India. We have an all Tibetan, 100% Tibetan employed team. It's very important for me that, there are three missions of my app and business, Medicine Buddha. Number one, that it promotes Tibetan culture with excellence. I think sometimes some people might log on to the app for the first time, and it might be the first interaction to Tibetan, and I want them to walk away with a positive impression and representation of Tibetan culture. I think the app is really a gateway for Tibetan medicine and Tibetan wellness to really spread around the world using the scale and global nature of an app. Number two, it has to be a 100% Tibetan employed team. I think, just keeping it authentic, keeping it really empowering. I think that's very exciting for everyone who's involved in the app. I know some of the app practitioners have logged on, so really, really proud to have you on this app as a truly Tibetan team. And thirdly, we have a pay it forward initiative, which I can speak about later. But that is actually, instead of tipping the doctors or the wellness practitioners, if somebody wanted to add more, because we keep the prices at cost level, to donate to a scholarship for young Tibetans to actually attend Tibet or to become clinical psychotherapists. So this really, is something that I'm really passionate about, stopping this aid dependency, but, actually empowering people, creating that scholarship, making the app practitioners role models for the next generation of practitioners that come on the app. And in a Buddhist way, thinking actually quite long term. Some of the features, these are actual screens from the app. Some of the features of my app I wanted to highlight. You can see the second tab is book a Tibetan medicine doctor or book a wellness practitioner. You can book a one-to-one consultation with them. You can order your supplements. Once you've had your consultation with Tibetan medicine doctor, the doctor makes the supplement prescriptions online, and this appears on your app, and you're easy and efficient for you to book. And the pay it forward button at the end, where you can see the two initiatives to donate to. You can search for Tibetan medicine doctor or wellness practitioners by their price, the type of consultation or levels of specialization, the years of clinical practice, and the languages they speak. We offer that instantaneous video consultation, Tibetan medicine doctors 30 minutes and wellness practitioners up to 60 minutes. And as I spoke to you before about the ordering the supplements, it's very easy for you to understand what's been recommended to you and how to order them efficiently. This has never been done before, that sort of one-stop shop. So I thought I would just play this ad for 30 seconds whilst I open the floor for any Q&As. And when this completes, I will...
Want to spend less time falling asleep, less time waking up at night, more time sleeping?
Medicine Buddha connects you to vetted and licensed Tibetan medicine doctors and well-being practitioners using the safety, convenience, and confidentiality of an app. We offer pre-booked and live consultations and dispatch any supplements that may have been recommended by the practitioner. Join our healing community now and download our app. I'll open the floor for any questions, but in the meantime, we're having our website upgraded in the next week or so. So please do check us out on our new website and also on our social media, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. I'm going to stop sharing this screen and I'll open the floor. Lasso, does anyone have any questions for me? If you could raise your arm and then open your mic up, please. Paulos, go for it.
How did your mother-in-law respond to the insomnia treatment?
So she was really open to it. So when she asked a lot of questions in terms of what she can do and can't do. So she got a lot of guidance about what foods she should avoid, what foods she can have. Some of the lifestyle changes, like not using a phone so close to sleeping, etc. Once she had the medicine, she found the medicine quite bitter and different. It's a herbal supplement, and also I was able to say to her that this is actually a very slow treatment. It's not an overnight medicine pill, but she has found it effective and helpful. And since actually my mother-in-law benefited from it, I realized 50% of the population, at least in the West, actually suffer from insomnia. I laugh saying that actually a lot of bankers and alpha personalities suffer from this anyway. We're having this overactive brain, and always having your foot on the pedal, with such a dynamic workplace. But it's so common, this insomnia. So actually found not just my mother-in-law benefited, but so many people benefit from it. Thank you. Anyone else? I think, Mingma, you had a question about insomnia, didn't you? I think your mic is off.
Yeah, firstly, thank you so much for this webinar session at this much needed time. And my question was like, when you have launched this Medicine Buddha app, why you're only focusing on insomnia? Why not on gastric? Like because of this lockdown, I'm also having lots of stress, and because of that, I also had lots of gastric issues. So why only insomnia?
Thank you so much for having me, and also sharing some of your condition. We have seen a rise in insomnia and a lot of this mental conditions in the pandemic, because of confined spaces, that what I said, the work-life balance being without that habit or routine. It has messed up a lot of people's sleep, unless you're extremely disciplined. I started with insomnia just first of all because of my mother-in-law's own experience, seeing how prevalent it is in the West, and also realizing that in the West, mental conditions, mental issues are both a condition and a symptom. And over 50% of conditions under the age of 65, it's just based on mental wellness. So I thought, start Medicine Buddha on one thing, which is mental wellness, and do it really well, and then expand the other conditions. So we do treat a host of chronic conditions, which can be treatable via telemedicine, which is using a video conference. Traditionally, the number one question that gets asked to me is, how can you do Tibetan medicine via telemedicine without the pulse, which is the pulse diagnosis, which is the traditional way to do Tibetan medicine. And it's because chronic conditions like insomnia, you can take the patient history, you can talk to them, and all the Tibetan medicine doctors I've collaborated with in building this app have assured me this absolutely possible to treat conditions like insomnia. I'm happy to also offer you and Paulos insomnia consultation for the pre-launch and launch. So please get back in touch with me. I'm really happy to do that. Also open that offer to anyone else on this webinar.
Hi, can you hear me?
Hi, Zegalata Shdele.
Yeah, that was a brilliant presentation, wonderful. Well done for that. And quite a number of people also online. I just wondered, are you going to accept like non-Tibetan practitioners on your app, or is it just exclusively Tibetan practitioners that you're going to accept? Because I see that there aren't that many Tibetan practitioners out there, whether in India or in the West. And now just looking at economies of scale, how you're going to have you any word on that?
Yes, thank you. So my number 2 social mission is that it's 100% Tibetan employed. I've only really reached out and vetting and inviting people of Tibetan descent. It's really, really important for me that it stays a Tibetan app just for the authenticity. There's some things about Tibetans which comes with our culture. Number 1, I've noticed everyone involved in this app as a team and also practitioners, they're all purpose driven. Every single one of them said, this is actually exciting that it's 100% Tibetan employed. They love that, that this is something different and unique. We've seen lots of other industries where people are actually appropriating Tibetan culture. We've got an app, Headspace app. The Andy Puddicombe, British entrepreneur, claims to be a Tibetan Buddhist monk and doesn't employ a single Tibetan. We've seen pill producer in Switzerland, Padma, that employs 1 Tibetan, and they're producing Tibetan medicine. So this is a really exciting opportunity, really, to have 100% Tibetan employed, and to give that opportunity for Tibetans to really upskill and upgrade ourselves. I myself, I would never think of myself as a tech entrepreneur, but I've got that corporate background and I'm learning as I go. I think the developer in India, he is going to be our next CTO. So I think we need that opportunity, we need the growth, and we need to keep that mission to keep it authentic. Interestingly, non-Tibetans, as soon as I say this, whether they're advisors to the business or contractors, they all love it. Actually, they said, that's great. They actually find that very exciting. They understand that vision, and they even encourage me and say, you should keep it 100% Tibetan employed, because they think that makes it unique. That will ensure the quality, ensure that integrity, ensure that way of Tibetan being, which is, full of integrity and full of compassion. I love to give the example of why I chose 100% Tibetan. For example, my logo. This is actually my 4th logo. I had 3 other companies try to design my logo. And the brief I gave each company was, I wanted to show at one time medicine and Buddha. And every single company that I contracted with always brought up a picture of Lord Buddha. And I kept saying to them, I don't want the Buddha, because for me, that's very sacrilegious to use the Buddha as an aesthetic. And for me, it's actually my God. So I said, can you not use the whole body of a Buddha? Can you not make it a medicine, like a decoration piece? And every single one of them failed until I met this very talented Canadian Tibetan designer called Ugenla, who's actually making my website as well. And he has designed the eye of the Buddha as a pill. So at one point in the Tanka style, at the same point, you see medicine and Buddha. And that shows the brilliance of employing Tibetans, because they understand the cultural context. They, will keep it authentic and culturally sensitive. So it's really exciting for me that, we keep it 100% Tibetan employed. Thank you.
Thanks.
Anyone else? No?
Well, can I ask something?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
I think Nopela wants to ask a question.
Okay, Lasso.
All right. So, what opportunities are there for young Tibetans to get involved, even if they don't have any necessarily medical or tech background?
Fantastic. I really want to involve lots of young Tibetans in it. First of all, as customers and users of the app, we've got a host of wellness practitioners on the app, be it a yoga class, be it speaking to a monk doing mind training. I love young, fresh eyes in terms of your ideas for social media, your ideas for outreach. And one of the things that I was always asked when I was a banker in London is loads of Tibetan parents would email me close to January, February and ask for work experience for their children. And I was never able to offer that at my bank because of, you know, the anti-bribery and corruption regulation. So instead, because this is my own private business, I think once we are more established, I'll be able to offer that, you know, sort of work experience for young Tibetans. But I definitely want to be listening to young Tibetans. You're the future, you know, your hands are on the beat. You know what's new, what's fresh. I want to engage. I think, you know, young people really embrace that tech and the app technology. So yeah, I would love to hear more, Nopala, from
cool.
you. Yeah, and yeah, and also, you know, offer you that sort of like the beta testing if you wanted to, you know, just try.
Thank you.
I would love that. So anyone, I'm gonna offer this to anyone. Please get back in touch with me if you wanted to test the app before it's pre-launch.
Shall do. Cheers. Ta.
Thank you. Lasso, if there are no more questions, I think I can give you back 10 minutes back of your time, Ra, and just say thank you so much for joining me. I'm really pleasantly surprised the interest in Medicine Buddha. I thought, you know, most people would be interested in either current or future trends. So it's been such a pleasure to share what I call my fourth baby, Medicine Buddha, with you. And I wanted to also end by saying that same lawyer who helped me with that advice to always look forward, look around, look into the future. It's so beautiful that actually 15 years later, we both ended up at HSBC Bank, and she was actually promoted to General Counsel of the Asset Management Division. And, you know, it just made me so proud to see somebody so generous and giving of her expertise and her knowledge, and a Black woman too, you know, an ethnic minority in the UK, rise to the top of her professional field and be rewarded. So, you know, with that, I wanted to thank her. I definitely did that. And I wanted to say, even if that's what I wanted to share her advice, but I wanted to say, if you have anything in you, you know, any advice that you helped, give it out into the universe. It might help somebody else, you know, pass it on, pay it forward. And, you know, and if there's anyone else with any interesting, innovative idea, whether you have an idea for a Tibetan cryptocurrency or another app, you know, just keep networking, keep, you know, sharing knowledge. You know, you may find it may not be, you know, you never know where it would lead to when you start talking to more people, start networking. Sometimes, you know, it may not be the business that makes you £1 million, but it might lead to something else, or might lead you to meeting somebody else, and, you know, A to B to C. So always just think of it as, you know, you're moving towards the future trends, you're learning and you're growing. So thank you so much for your time. I really enjoyed this, even though it was 95% a monologue. Thank you. Thanks for your interest and time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
How nice and curious your son is.
Yeah.